Thank you, gentlemen. And a first win here to start off the series for Enemy. I want to focus on team compositions first because I feel like TDK may have focused a little bit too hard on getting that Nidalee mind game. Is it going to Kez or is it going to Seraph? And they developed into this composition that it felt like it split into two directions.
Yeah, with the first pick Nidalee, it's really obvious. It's either top or jungle, maybe mid lane, but they showed the Lissandra right from the get-go, and then they went with a double split push with the Shyvana teleport smite and the Vayne. You don't want to have that Vayne team fighting. You want her on the side lane dueling. So the team composition was not very strong with the disengage against what Enemy had picked, and they really failed to play to their strengths, especially with the 1v1 kill that Lewis gave to Hecarim. Right from that point, Hecarim is no longer at a disadvantage versus the Shyvana, and Vayne can no longer deal with the Hecarim by herself, which you saw many times. They just had to constantly send the Nidalee behind the Vayne so that she could farm safely, the Janna behind her, spending so many resources on that while Enemy's just taking towers left, right, and center.
Yeah, I mean, no matter where the Nidalee goes, it's still a squishy champion that's a reset waiting to happen. She wants to get off poke, but what Enemy do, they're like, oh, you know what? Let's get long range, hard engage. We have so many options. Oh, we have a Hecarim. Teleport in with home guards. That's a great engage. You know what else? Zac, if we have vision control, he can engage from half a screen away. You know what else we have? Annie rushing distortion boots. So
you know what else we have? We can keep going. Simmer, alt. They had tons of ways to get in. And I kind of to Crumbs' point, there was a very narrow way in which TDK wins this game. They were halfway between an engaged composition with a Lissandra and a disengaged composition with Janna, or just a split push composition, right? But in order for that to win, the Vayne has to be strong, the Shyvana has to be stronger, the Janna has to be completely perfect with the disengages, which wasn't quite there, and it was too narrow of a way to win.
Let's take a look at the first replay that we have, which is a fight that goes in TDK's favor. It's a 5-for-2, 19 minutes into the game, and Crumbs, I'm going to let you run away with this one, but it kind of shows exactly how, if they do execute the disengage properly, there is a way for them to take these fights.
Exactly. Now, this is a fight that happened around TDK's Wraith side, and you're going to see that TDK uses the Lissandra ult on Zac, thinking that he's out of position. It's not really a good target to use the ulted on. And he flashes in, and right here, Trashy needs to flash, open up with his ultimate, but he tries to get the greedy E and instead only gets the ultimate on Seraph. And now with the botched disengage, they're not able to kill anybody on TDK, just because with this comp, you want to make sure that everybody is CCing at the same time so that the damage dealers can go in. And we see in future fights how they pull that off, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, the main things in this fight with TDK is the Janna did do a proper disengage, and Seraph had a good counter engage. But that was all only possible because of Zac making that small misplay when they're caught up 5v5 like that.
Also, yes, it was a great disengage for Janna when the Hecarim finally did come in, but Annie was sitting on a Sightstone. She could have dropped a ward closer to the fight, any time prior to that, because the ward that he had to teleport in on Hecarim was actually really far away from the fight, and that's why he got there so late.
All right, so we talk about how the fact that TDK can walk away with fights, but they're relying on Enemy making small errors. Let's look at a fight now where they don't do that, and TDK stands no chance at all. We're going 24 minutes into the game. It's a 5-for-0 ace that then results in a Baron buff as well.
Yeah, really fast replay, actually, because everybody died incredibly quickly. We were thinking that Seraph was going to save his smite for an engage to hopefully not get jumped on first by Enemy, but that didn't happen, Kobe.
Okay, so let's roll through this. Yeah, so Annie, body drop in there, again, with that distortion rush, is the one able to get the jump on this. And we just see that not even a whole second of Annie flash in, plus the Katarina flash in for follow-up, and Janna didn't even have enough time to react.
That's how perfect Janna has to be in order to disengage this. It has to be as Katarina shunpos in, because Katarina got off her instant cast spell, the W, and the start of her alt channeling, and basically began the resets just off of that.
Yeah, the other thing, I like how you guys were mentioning Seraph and the beginning of this fight, because you can see Katarina running down the river. If Shyvana jumps at Katarina, just even at the beginning of that, even if you delay her engage, you can get like half of her life with a challenging smite and a Shyvana ultimate.
Because she had the Blade of the Ruined King at the time, so all she needs to do, peel off from the dragon. You're not the jungler. It's not your duty to smite that.
But he had smite. He wanted to use it.
Use the Blade of the Ruined King on Katarina, force her to react to your presence on her, and force her to use her E in the not optimal manner. But another really bad thing about that fight was Janna was charging up a tornado at some random location that completely whiffed and was completely separate from her team. Her job should be only get Katarina out of this fight, nothing else. So she should be locked on Katarina and making sure that she can never go in, but she was at the completely opposite side and then is forced to flash in to disengage when it's already way too late.
Yeah, I think the story is they had to play it so well just because of how many options Enemy had, to engage this.
Right, so let's take a look then at this next game coming up. They're on the blue side again. TDK is on the blue side again. They'll be on the blue side for the entire night. So how do they react? How do they pivot here going into Champion Select, knowing that if Enemy so chooses, they can counterpick that top lane, which they so dearly hold on to Seraph being able to carry from?
They have to get substantially more value out of their first pick. It makes it difficult to pivot between pick and ban strategies when you're not switching sides the entire series. But I think it begins and ends as far as mid-series adaptations with finding value in Nidalee and picking a cohesive team composition, because I think we got trapped in between a couple of different ideas this time.
I think a problem for TDK looking at this game is how are they going to adapt their pick and ban for the next game? Katarina seemed like a huge problem for them. They were not able to coherently disengage her damage, and she didn't even go with Azanya's full-on damage, and half these fights she would just be flashing in barely as soon as the CC hits and just unleashing damage on the enemy. So if they want to go for a Nidalee or ban it or just do anything that is not remotely hard engaged, you need to get rid of this Katarina or go with a lot of crowd control to deal with her.
I think the picks and the plan of how to execute the team comp are going to be big, but also even just the laning phase. They made several mistakes on both side lanes, so they gave up 2 solo kills before the teams even grouped up for these team fights. So definitely got to concentrate on the first step, laning phase as well.
All right, so we'll see if TDK can make the adjustments, give themselves the tools they need to be aggressive, get themselves in a good position through the early game. We are going to step away for a while the teams prepare for our second match between TDK and Enemy eSports. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more of the 2015 Spring Challenger Finals in just a moment.
Well, no, they'll put this on so they can see me say hi to my mom. Right, guys?
Yeah, everybody say hi to Inox's mom.
Hi, Mom.
Hi, Inox's mom.
Hi, Inox mom.
3-man Timbers, in comes Siobhan to the back line, and Seraph taking up whatever he can. First kill comes in as Inox dies.
Nice. I'm going.
Need the reset?
Reset.
Reset.
Yeah.
Reset. Kill the Janna. Kill the Janna.
Go back. Afterward, go back.
There's the engage, the backline dive. Wow!
Here comes
one
Flares.
kill already. Inox will trade his life. Enemy eSports have taken the first game in the road to the LCS.